Look, had to get on my grind, ain't got no time to be making excuses. Success in my mind, I hit up Shawn when I let up in Houston. Him and Gentry told me, AOG, when you chasing your dreams, gotta take that risk, so I stake my chips, put it all on me. It is what it is, put all the chips all on me, yeah. I don't talk too much, put the money up, all on me, yeah. I'ma put 10 bands, 100 bands, millions all on me, yeah. I'ma put 10 bands, 100 bands, millions.
All right, if you like watches, or if you need a watch, or if you need a specialty piece, or jewelry, or ice, or bling, this is the man to call.
Thank you. Couldn't have asked for a better intro, Shawn. Thank you.
This is the man. And so tell him your name, tell him the name of your company, and just introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Nabeel, and I own Timeless Timepieces. Been in business now a little over 4 years. And on Instagram, we're known as Time by TMLS, and our website is tmlstimepieces.com. Been a watch lover ever since I was a kid. I owned my first watch, got my first watch when I was 5 years old. My dad got me a Swatch, and I think since that day, my left hand has never lived a day without a watch on its wrist.
It does feel really weird when you don't have something on your wrist after you've been wearing it a long time.
Yes.
Same thing happened with my wedding ring. Like when I just every once in a while, if I forgot it or something, it would feel really weird, like it's like something's missing.
Right. It feels odd when you're used to wearing something every day. Like if you look at my wrist, like I literally have like
the tan line of the watch.
Tan line of the watch. It's been there forever. And today I'm rocking this like Hublot. I think we're both rocking Hublots today. So that's kind of cool. And there's a story behind this one too. So it's kind of interesting.
I think yours might be a little bit more expensive than mine.
Maybe a little, I think a little bit more unique, possibly. But it's like, I think as I get older, I'm 41 now, and you could probably relate.
44, yeah.
You're 44, there you go. Life is so much better when you have stories to tell. And so I've now, last few years, I love all these engagements I get to do with people, and I get to meet amazing people like you and so many others, and everyone has such a cool story. So I'm a story nerd. I love hearing stories. I love to be able to tell stories. So for me, like buying this Hublot, it's freaking 6-figure Hublot. It's one of 8 in the world, but it's a freaking bi-axis tourbillon complication. And it just, it looks like it has a beating heart every time I see it. So for me, this is just kind of reminds me of the me before I became a watch dealer, because I really appreciate the watch for what it is. And it's so cool. Whereas a watch dealer would never spend silly money to buy this watch like I did. But just sometimes you get so jaded by seeing the APs and the Pateks and the Rolexes of the world, and you come across something so crazy and you're like, oh, no one's going to buy this. And then you end up being the one that buys it. And I've owned this now 2 years and made a bunch of stories with it. So this is, I think, pretty much a forever piece for me at this point. But it's interesting. Life's about stories. So yeah.
I think what would be really cool, just sitting here looking at those, I don't think I'd ever buy one, but we have to wear those for the show.
Oh yeah, you want to try on the jewelry pieces? Oh my god, I got some stuff to show you today. Here, this one here is it's a 14 karat gold diamond chain. It's got I think close to 50 carats of diamonds in here, and you have almost over here about 350 grams worth of gold. So it's kind of nuts to see something like this. And similarly, this one over here is 14 karat gold, 261 grams of gold in this one, and 40 carats of diamonds. So
I think I want the ice.
The ice one? Okay, let's put on this one here.
Not the gold.
Yeah, so here, I'll show you. Give you those.
Although I like gold too, but my watch would match that a little bit more. My wedding ring that I have on today match that a little bit more.
Give this a shot.
I have a gold wedding ring that I wear if I wear a gold watch.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It always felt weird to wear a platinum wedding ring and a gold watch. And so I bought a gold wedding ring.
Yeah, it's weird. Like I've mixed up the metals quite a bit. Here, we'll help you put it on. You got it. Just slide it in.
Put it on.
Just slide in the clasp and then just close the top. So it just clicks in there like that. Yeah, okay. And then you close the top. And then that's it. You know, I'm gonna join you on this. I'm gonna put it on this gold one.
It matches your bracelet though.
Yeah,
You're good. I did pick the right one.
You did pick the right one because this is matching my bracelet, so this is perfect.
All right.
So you both got
How do I look?
diamond chains on. Do I look cool or look good? All right, there you go.
Dude,
there you go. We're rocking chains. Oh my god, this feels weird. I'm not used to wearing a chain.
It feels heavy.
Yeah, I know. I feel it.
But I bet people that wear this every day, it's almost like how we feel weird not wearing the watch, and then like you don't feel weight on your neck. It would be weird. Like if you did it every day.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could wear that every day. That's a little bit.
Yeah, I'm feeling the weight. We'll see how I make it past the show. We'll see how I feel at the end of the show. So
well, I love watches a lot more than gold or chains or anything else. But same thing. I like the design.
Yes.
Same with cars. Like I appreciate somebody like designed it, manufactured it, and like it's so different than anything else, especially on certain cars and engines, and like there's so much thought that goes back into it. So I think that's why I like it. I've always loved real estate, and I appreciate the design of something. And then watches too, like when you see certain things, like like how hard it was to make it. So I think that's why I've always been like gravitated a little bit to them.
Because the craftsmanship on watches, like I mean, not to take away from anything from anybody, but when you're crafting something, like you can fathom the idea of someone crafting a vehicle because it's so massive, right? And then you take that into watches and everything is minuscule when it comes to crafting in watches. So to do the same feat on a minute scale, I feel requires even more skill than making like a vehicle, for example, with lack of engineering. So
are all of the higher end watches, are they made by hand? Like how are they made? Is it?
Yeah, so a lot of the, like something like this, what I'm wearing, the MP, this is a Masterpiece 09 from Hublot. So this whole watch from ground up is made by hand. They fabricate the case. So this one is a rainbow edition. They only made 8 of these in the world because they're only able to produce 8 cases that the rainbow symmetry that you see on the watch, it came out to Hublot's quality specification. And because that's how this watch ended up as a 1 of 8. And this has close to about 350 parts that take to put this together. And to talk about the craftsmanship, like this is a full sapphire crystal that curves right down here at the bottom. Just to execute that sapphire crystal, the way it curves is such a feat. And then you have the movement right here, which is a tourbillon movement, which is again, fully handmade. And it just amazes me, like they do it at such little scale, like they're tiny screws that go inside this watch and in tiny pieces of movement. And it all comes together and this thing beats with with a beating heart. So, yeah.
What's the price of something like that?
This one, MSRP close to about $230,000.
Okay. MSRP, and then what does it sell for now?
To be honest, there's not been one sold in the secondary market because there are only 8 of them. So there really isn't a comp on this watch. Everyone that bought this watch originally paid $230K approximately. Yeah, and more than I still kept it because again, there's only 8 of them in the world. So I was the only person that ever bought this in the secondary market, and I even personally paid a hefty sum to purchase it. So yeah, but I love it. So, and I have I think 7 other straps for this watch. It's a rainbow, so you could put all sorts of colors on it, and it works. So my favorite color is orange. So by default, this watch always has the orange strap on it. And kind of weird because it didn't work with my outfit today, but I was like, I just had to wear this because it's such a cool piece. So yeah.
No, super cool. Yeah. I like anything that's unique too. And honestly, that's the stuff that goes up in value, right? Whether you're talking about a Ferrari or whether you're talking about anything else. You see some of the old Ferraris now, it's like the Special or anything else. It's like the prices are so crazy now. And it's limited production. There's not that many of them. Exactly. And the value will always go up.
Exactly. And that's the crazy thing, right? And so, like, if you try this on, why don't you put this on your wrist? I want to see how this looks on your wrist.
Let me see.
So
that's a little bit big than what I would wear, though. I think, like normally.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I agree. This is a massive watch.
I appreciate it, but I think this is way too big for something I would wear.
It wears like a cuff. Wow, it looks so insane seeing it from afar.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You can wear it the rest of the interview if you like.
But what's the diameter? So this one, mine's already a 45, maybe.
Yep.
So this has to be, what is this, like a 48? 49?
Yeah, it's a 49 millimeter, but it wears like a cuff. So even on your wrist, it doesn't look too massive. Like it stands up, but it's not.
Pretty big.
But it's big. I mean, but after you wear it for like an hour or so, you actually kind of get used to it.
Like big like the chain.
Yeah. Big like chain. It looks good on you, actually. It looks really good. With a black strap, it would totally match your outfit.
You know what, though? Yeah. I was always like shied away from the colored bands. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I think if it, like seeing it on a black face with a black shirt, I think I could wear a colored band if it had a black face. Yes. If the whole thing was orange, I don't think I could do that.
Yeah, and it's crazy with this watch. They actually, so the rainbow, they made 8. They made the same watch with orange carbon. So that's rainbow carbon. They did orange carbon, blue carbon, white carbon, purple carbon. And they made 8, I think, of all the colors. This was the last year production. But the rainbow, I think, was the rarest because of how difficult that was to make. So yeah, that makes it
Pretty
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, you can have every strap with it. Why don't you leave that on for the rest of the interview? We can talk about what I have in here.
Yeah, let's look at it.
I could knock something out of here.
Let's look at it.
So I always think if you're a real watch guy, you kind of have to have a watch roll. And I think a watch roll tells a lot about who the owner is. So for me here, I have a couple of watches that I think if you are a big watch guy and you want to have a little mix of a play, there's a couple of watches I think you need to own. You always need to have like your everyday daily wear. You need to have like a medium piece that you can just kind of like go to a nice dinner with. And then you need to have a heavy hitter piece. Now I was kind of wearing my heavy hitter on my wrist, but I also put another one in here. So here we have my watch roll. And if you take a look right here, I have 3 watches in the watch roll. And
explain that.
So
explain the first. So this is AP, of course.
Yeah, so that's an AP rose gold, a Royal Oak, green dial chronograph. One of my favorite watches. I've owned this watch a few months now. And this is kind of my heavy hitter that I would wear to like most like serious engagements and things like that, where, there'll be some watch connoisseurs there that always grabs attention. And then in the middle, you'll see there's a rose gold sky dweller. So that for me is like a watch I would personally own, and I would wear it when I don't want to wear the AP because the price difference between the two is almost double. So the AP, like that one there, is roughly about $130,000, kind of where the market is today on something like that. And then the Sky Dweller, that's around $70,000, about 65 to 70. And then my daily wear that I normally wear every day is a stainless steel Daytona you see on the far right over there in the watch roll. And that I feel like every man, if you're a watch collector, you got to have a Daytona. And
there's one watch that I've never owned, and that's a Rolex.
Really? You've never owned a Rolex?
Once, not since day one. My first watch ever when I was younger was bought through some friends of ours.
Okay.
And Gentry really loved it. So I was like, yeah, I like it. And she's like, you need a nice watch.
Yeah.
Roadster.
Wow, a Cartier Roadster.
Yeah, that was my very first watch that I've ever owned.
Okay.
And then after that, it was Panerai.
Oh, that's
where I started getting into it. I was like, I like him because nobody really has them.
Yep.
And this is also before like the popularity of some of these other ones. I mean, Rolex was around, but I was like, everybody has it.
Right.
And at least, not that I had like crazy money back then, but at least like I have something that's different. And I like the look of it. It was just like casual, but also looked a little bit nice. Like, so I don't know. I never bought a Rolex. I still don't own one to this day. I've never owned one.
Fair enough. Okay.
So not that I don't. When I've gone out to look at watches, I like a lot of these other designs that are a little bit better. And then also us coming from oil and gas, like every single guy has one of these. So then it's like, I don't want what everybody else has.
No, that's true. And I think that's kind of where you gravitate. I think most people like...
I'm sure these are more one of a kind than like the everyday Rolex too. Is like,
I think so. A stainless steel Daytona, like MSRP is like around $17,000 today. Impossible to get at an AD. You have to spend at least close to $500,000 to $1 million with an authorized dealer to get a stainless steel Daytona at list. So these stainless steel Daytonas, like for example, that black dial, it trades like close to $33,000 today in the secondary market. The white dial version trades around $35,000 to $37,000.
And they're originally $18,000 MSRP.
About 16 and a change. 16 and change is where MSRP is.
What makes something go up? Is it like the limited supply, or is it just the popularity? Like what makes something increase in that much in value?
So it's the supply, it's the hype, and it's the model, brand, manufacturer that
how many are available?
How many are available, essentially. That supply plays a big part of it.
What does Rolex normally make when they release something? Like what's the volume or quantity they usually release when they release like one of their new watches?
So Rolex don't disclose specifically how many specific models they produce a year, but we do know that they produce about 1.2 million timepieces per year. Across the board, across all their models, ladies' piece, men's piece, everything across the board.
Which is a lot for a watch company, like compared to some of these other ones.
Yes, because if you look at, like, for example, Audemars Piguet, which, the Rose Gold Royal Oak, AP produce about roughly 50 to 60,000 timepieces a year for the whole world. So it's a lot less than Rolex. And then Patek's also roughly in the same ballpark. And so when you look at them and when you see price escalation start to happen in the market, AP, Patek, RM are always like the first ones to get the biggest price increase.
And then RM's even less, right?
Yeah, RM make 5,000 watches a year.
No matter what?
No matter what. 5, maybe 5,500 on a busy year, but that's about it. RMs are super scarce. So that's why, like, for example, like in if for example, like that Sky Dweller, that rose gold Sky Dweller, the blue dial, when they first came out, when Rolex first released them, they were trading initially like close to like $100,000, maybe like 90 to 100,000 when they first released. And today they still trade like 65, 70 all day long. But they've come down from where the craziness was. But even that watch today is above MSRP. The MSRP on that watch is around $56,000 from Rolex, but it still trades 10 over roughly just because of that blue dial, because that makes it unique. The same watch with a gray dial or a white dial doesn't trade anywhere close. White dial trades back of MSRP.
When did it come out?
This reference and the Sky Dweller came out in 23 with the blue dial.
So 23, you bought it for 18. If you bought it in 23,
in 2023, that Sky Dweller, the one in the middle, the rose gold.
The middle.
Yeah, that one, I think MSRP originally close to, I think 50, 51K.
Okay.
Back in 23. The stainless steel Daytona, that also was, the new reference came out in 23 as well.
Okay. And so what are they now? So if you paid MSRP back then.
Yeah. So if you paid MSRP back then on this Rolex, this Daytona, MSRP originally around 15.5 and 23. Today, the MSRP close to 17 because Rolex has price increases everywhere. But that watch today, the stainless steel Daytona Black, is about $32,000 today.
Okay. So you could have almost doubled your money.
Yeah, almost doubles your money.
And then what's this one trading?
This is about like $65,000. So you're probably up like 10, 15K. Yeah, 10 to 15,000 where you paid. Yeah.
And then what is this one? AP, I don't remember what these were new.
So this one brand new with the gold bracelet. It's there around I believe $80,000 MSRP is kind of close.
Now it's 120,
120 to 130 is where they go every day. So yeah, crazy.
So you can make money on your investment. Yeah,
but the thing with this game is people are like, well, everybody wants to make money, right? That's just natural. But when you go to these ADs and these manufacturers and you ask for, like, for example, you go ask for that AP, you can buy that AP at MSRP. Like, they won't sell it to you. Simple as that. They will, and they also play the game. So what they will want to sell you as your first piece is the one that you're going to lose 20, 30 grand on. And that's how it works. And AP know when you sold a piece because the warranty transfers. And so they'll blacklist you for selling the piece. That's how it goes. Yeah. So an AP owns all their distribution points. There is no authorized dealer for AP today.
Okay.
So when you're buying from AP, you're buying direct from a manufacturer and anywhere in the world. So that's...
I bought on the used market before too, is where I've got mine from.
Yeah. And because on the used market, in a way you kind of pay the fair pricing. Because like, for example, for you to buy that watch from AP at MSRP around the $80,000 mark, you would have to buy a code 1159, maybe 2-3 of those. You'd have to buy an offshore.
It's just like the Ferraris.
Kind of, but I would argue it's kind of worse than the Ferraris because with Ferrari, you can kind of buy one and you kind of can get an allocation for something cool, like nothing special, but something cool. Whereas with the APs, like you would have to spend 2-3 years buying, 3 to 5 APs, which if you sold all of them, you probably would have lost close to $70,000, if not more. So even if you did get offered this as your 6th watch,
you get the special.
You would still be negative 20 if you made it there. Because if you sold the first 5, you got blacklisted anyways.
Really?
And then you couldn't get offered that piece. So yeah. So that's kind of how that works. And all the ADs know how it works. Like AP knows how it works. Patek knows how it works. Rolex know how it works. With Patek, they want you to, a lot of Patek authorized dealers, most of them are jewelry stores. So they want you to buy a bunch of jewelry at the prices that they set.
Yep.
Like the pricing that they have, like you can go to any other jeweler looking for the same piece of jewelry, it'll be significantly less. But you have to pay the premium to buy that jewelry from a Patek dealer because that's the only way you get offered any cool Patek at MSRP. But even then, they draw out this process and they make you run through so many hoops to get them. So most of my clients, like, when they go through these games with the ADs, they sit down and do the math. And if you truly, all you want is that rose gold AP, or if you truly just want that Patek Nautilus or that Aquanaut, when you sit down and do the math, in secondary market, you would own an Aquanaut stainless steel easily around $70,000. It's a $27,000, $28,000 MSRP on that Patek. But the amount of jewelry and silly stuff you have to buy.
Is that the MSRP for those?
Yeah, for the Patek Aquanaut, time only. Yeah. They trade around close to 70.
I've just been looking at the secondary market.
Yeah, they trade close to like 70. Some are even higher if they're like brand new box papers, but generally used ones around 70-ish. But MSRP is like 27, 28. But to get that watch at 27 and 28, you'd have to spend 6 figures in jewelry with your Patek dealer and probably buy a bunch of watches you didn't even want to own that you're going to lose 20, 30,000 a piece on. So when you do your cost basis to get to that Aquanaut time only, where you will actually still pay 27,000 for that watch, you will own that watch close to about $150,000, like literally double of what you could buy it for any day of the week in the secondary market. And Patek's dealers know this, so that's the game they play. And that's okay. Like that's, it works for them and it works for their clients. And again, if you're a client that just really loves all their jewelry and you're going to keep everything you're never going to sell, then you technically never will lose any money. But for 90% of the clients out there that just want a Aquanaut or they want a Nautilus or they want a Royal Oak, buying the actual pieces you want and even buying them in the secondary market is okay because the markets still hold. A lot of the fear that people have is that, oh, well, if I pay over MSRP, like for example, like the number one question I get asked is, well, if I pay over MSRP and the market goes to hell, I'm going to lose all that money. Well, the reality of the markets, and you probably understand it better than most people, Shawn, is that the market sets the price for anything, regardless of watches, oil, gas, where you talk about. There's always a market, right? And that's what the market's going to pay. So even if tomorrow a bunch of Pateks got into inventory, or Patek increased production, that Aquanaut that you bought today for $70,000, $75,000 is not going to go down to 27. Even if more supply came in the market, maybe it'll go from 75 to 70, maybe 65, but it'll never touch 27.
Depending on how many are for sale at that given time.
Well, there would never be so many anyways. And there's so many watch dealers around the world that will pick them up. Even if you as a customer is like, I'm not comfortable picking up the watch at 65, there's watch dealers willing to pay 65, 67, 68, 69 to swipe it off the market.
Yeah.
And then they'll sit on them and hold till the market comes back up. There's no desire to, let them crash the market.
No, it does. The ones that I kind of buy watches like I buy real estate. So I'm like always trying to, it's like, okay, if they're all trading at X amount of price, 70,000, whatever the number is. Like I'm looking for the one that's on the secondary market that somebody's trying to get rid of, or it's an individual seller or whatever that it just needs the money. And so then I can buy it at a 20% discount. And so that way, if the market fluctuates, like in my mind, not that I've ever sold a bunch of watches because I usually just end up keeping them because I don't want to sell it, but I bought it lower than I could sell it for, right? It's like, oh, if I needed the money, I could get at least my money back out of it or whatever. I guess I'm justifying it, number one.
And that's honestly like a great mindset.
The ones that I have bought that I know that are bought brand new from the dealer were stuff that you can buy anywhere and the value's never really going to go up. I probably lost a couple grand buying it from the dealer, but it's a lower value thing. And I'm just there. I went with Gentry. I really like that. But if on the higher value stuff, like I'll make sure that I can at least like get my money back or sell it at some point for a profit if I ever wanted to get rid of it. And
that's honestly where I agree with your mindset, but you also have to be kind of careful because a lot of times if you go on eBay or you go to Chrono 24 and you'll see like this watch that is priced 20% below like comps. There's something wrong. And here's the reason why. Because watch dealers are watching these sites like a hawk. If anybody ever prices something 20% below, they swipe it. Because see, as a watch dealer, we can take that risk because we know exactly what to check for, right? Actually, we will actually know if the watch is real or fake before we even pay you.
Aren't most of them verified now where you have to send in the watch to sell on the website and then, like verified that it's proof you're paying with a credit card, you can do a chargeback.
So here's the issue with that. So eBay started this a few years ago with their whole Verify program, right? And the idea was to add legitimacy because there were so many fake watches being sold on eBay, like left and right. And the issue happened was where eBay was like, we're going to add credibility, let's do the Verify process. And so now here's how the Verify process goes. You pay eBay with your credit card $70,000 for the Patek Aquanaut. The seller of the watch ships it to eBay, and eBay has some authority that's verifying the watch. But we don't know
first before it ships to you, before they even list it.
Before it ships to you.
Okay.
So anybody can list, but it has to go to their eBay's authority to verify before it ships to you. But here's what happens: the person who's actually looking at your watch, and we've heard stories of this as watch dealers, where we've had people sell watches through eBay, and watch dealers even bought them. And they turned out to have the real case, the real dial, fake movement. Or real movement, fake case, fake dial. Because the authenticator, what they're doing is they're doing the very basic watch check. So like, and this has even happened to me personally. Years ago, I bought a Rolex Submariner. And I bought it from a dealer that I knew. And I've known this guy for many years. And so I'm like, okay, he's coming from him. It's like me buying from you. I'm like, hey, it's coming from Shawn. I trust the guy.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have to do all the due diligence. But then the minute I had to come in and we do due diligence. So the next day I had to come in, I had to go to my watchmaker the next day. My watchmaker takes a look and says, Nabeel, there's something off on this watch. I'm like, are you serious? Like, yep, movement's real, but something else is looking funky. I'm like, are you sure? He's like, yes. Okay. We did a deep dive, spent a week or week and a half, like looking into everything. And what we found out was on that watch, the movement was real, dial was fake, and I think the case was fake. So it was a very awkward conversation to take that watch back to the dealer because he had the card. And then we also found out the card was fake. So
he bought it and it was, I'm sure, fake already. He just didn't verify
well,
it.
he bought it from someone he said he knew. And
so nobody's checking it.
But nobody was checking. But so that's the kind of stuff that gets through eBay.
Gotcha.
And see, the problem is, so if you bought that on eBay and eBay verified it, so you have this false sense of authority that, oh, eBay verified it and I'm good. But here's the catch-22 that happens. So eBay now verified the watch. You take it, you wear it on your wrist, you're good. You wear it 6-7 months, you get bored, and you're like, hey, I want to trade it in. Then you come to me like, hey, Nabeel, I like this rose gold AP you have. I bought this watch for what, $30,000. I want to trade it. I know I'm going to take a little bit of a hit, but let's work out a deal for the AP. And I take a look at the watch, and of course I go through the proper due diligence, and my resources are much more massive than what eBay has. And I go back to you and I say, Shawn, you have a situation. Your movement's real, but your case is fake. Your dial's fake. I don't even want to take your watch on trade because I don't even know what to sell it for. Because and then you're like, crap, what do I do? So then you call up eBay, and then eBay tells you, well, we verified it. And you're like, but this is the situation. And then now you're caught in the middle because now eBay is accusing you, the customer, of switching the dial and the case because they've already verified it. So now you're the guy contributing because I don't want it. And you have this paper from eBay was worth nothing.
What about the other big websites? What do they do? I know there's Chrono24. Like what are there's a couple other that.
So Chrono24, I don't think they really have a verification process, but they'll allow dealers to sell on their platform. Okay. And the thing with Chrono24, I always tell customers, look at Chrono24. That'll give you the idea of the market. Look at the low prices, look at the high prices, and the actual market is somewhere in the middle. Now, generally, like if you come to me, I'm very much in line with what you will see in Chrono24. So like I may not be the cheapest guy, the cheapest price you find on Chrono24, but I'm not gonna be the most expensive either. And there's always that go-between because a lot of listings on Chrono24 are ghost listings. Like there are people like listed the watch like 6-7 months ago. And if you ever reach out to these guys on Chrono24 and tell them, hey, I'm interested in this watch, they'll be like, oh, that one's sold. And you're like, but I can get you another one, but this is the price today. So these are just kind of like stock photo listings. And maybe, at one point it could be real photos. And they did have that watch at one point in inventory. But then they sold it and now they're going to source another one from the secondary market.
Trying to generate leads too.
It's great for generating leads. Like I have a lot of watch dealer friends that do it, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's great. It's great publicity, great lead generation, great marketing. But at the end of the day, I think if you're going to buy a timepiece, especially something that's substantially expensive and you're not buying it from an AD, working with a reputable secondary market watch dealer really makes a difference because then we do take the responsibility to make sure it's verified, it's authentic, and everything is,
good to know.
Up to scuff.
Yeah, so, good to know. The stuff I have bought, they haven't been like crazy specialty pieces. So I feel like semi-comfortable. Yeah. If I was ever wanted like some really crazy piece, I'd for sure go through you.
I would really appreciate it, man. I would love to work with you. And also actually when it comes to that, if you ever want certain brands, like I know you're a Hublot guy, we can get you some of those below MSRP brand new.
Yeah. So and that's what I would do. So like I have AP, I have all of them really except Rolex, but I started wearing these because again, these have gotten so popular and now I'm like, well, not a lot of people wear these, but I still like the design. And then so I feel like it's just a little bit more unique. Like you don't see them as much. So then I started wearing these a little bit more. Yeah. Then it's almost like I go through a little bit of cycles.
No. I think watch collecting itself is such a journey. It just tells so much about the person who wears the watch.
What stage you at?
Right, what stage exactly.
Like everything.
And I'll tell you, recently I've been selling quite a few Hublots, and recently I had a few clients who requested brand new Hublots, and everybody knows the Hublot market on secondary is not the strongest. Like
especially on the pieces that aren't unique,
like they
right?
tank. Like everybody knows they tank. Even I tell my clients, look, if you like a Hublot, like contact me, let me save you $1, right? And we're always able to save them something. And so like recently I had a couple of clients come in, they wanted to buy classic fusion pieces. And used, I quoted them between 6 and 7,000 for the used, and brand new I quoted them between 7 and 8, and MSRP I think close to 8 to 9. So I told them, look, you have your choice. I can get you a brand new one between 7 and 8, unworn. You get to be first owner, and get you a used one that's a few years old, and you get to between 6 and 7. What do you prefer? And for those clients, it was like, you know what, I really would love to be first owner on this piece, and yeah, I'll pay a small premium, but it's cool to be first owner in anything. Yeah. So they both opted to buy brand new pieces, and the cards on them were dated the week they received them. So, we're able to do that for clients, for Omega, for Hublot, Cartier, IWC. We can hook you guys up and get you a little bit below MSRP on those pieces. And then used, we can save you a bunch of money. Like a few months ago, I had a client who wanted a Hublot Square Bang in rose gold. That watch's MSRP is $48,000 brand new. And he started a Hublot boutique. He's like, I'm about to buy this, but I know you can save me $1. Can you please let me know how much you can get me this for? I found a used example, mint condition for him, and he bought it for a little hair under 30,000.
Yeah, it's a big
so
deal.
he saved 20 grand.
Yeah, it's the same watch.
The exact same watch with papers, everything, whole full set.
That's usually how I try to buy. It's like I've also, even if it's used, once the dealer like refurbishes it, like you literally can't tell the difference. Like because I've had watches that I've bought brand new, but then they get scratched up over time, but once you take them in to get service, like you literally can't tell that it just didn't come off the showroom floor. Right,
exactly. I mean, it depends on how good your people are. Like, thankfully, I'm very blessed to have some great watchmakers that I'm able to work with. And, when they're finished with a timepiece, like, honestly, sometimes I cannot even tell if it's new or used. It's that hard. Well done.
Yeah, some of them are really good.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Hey, everyone, real quick, I just want to let you know this podcast is 100% independent. No ads, no sponsors, just real. If you're finding value in whatever we're doing here, the biggest help that you can give us is hitting subscribe and sharing this with someone who you think needs to hear it or someone that it will provide value to. That's how we continue to grow. And if you did that, I would really appreciate it. So a lot of good information. I'm always fascinated how people got to the point they are in life. And there's so many different paths. So give us your origin story, where you started, was it in America? Was it not? How you got even into the jewelry business, because that's, I mean, it's an odd business to get into, just like walk into, right? And I've met some other people in the jewelry business, diamond business, and it's not an easy industry to just to like walk in.
No, so I'll tell you. So my origin story, we're going to backtrack a little bit. I grew up in the Middle East. I grew up in UAE. So I grew up like well-to-do. My parents were well off initially in the beginning. We went to great, British schools, private schools to start with. And then we came to the U.S. in the early 2000s. And my dad was over 60 and my mom, was over 50 at the time when we got here. And unfortunately, my dad was past the retirement age, here in the U.S. So unfortunately, though he'd been a banker all his life, up to this point, when he came to the U.S., there was unfortunately no jobs for him. So literally, my dad worked at a gas station. My mom worked at the dry cleaners. We lived
when they first came
here, and we lived in Alief. So I'm
not the greatest part of town.
No, and I was the first graduating class of Alief Taylor in 2004. So and then as I'm about to graduate, in February of 2004, my mom passes away, and I was only 19 at the time. And it was hard. I remember she passed away on a Tuesday. I was at the funeral on a Wednesday, and Thursday I was back in high school. And in high school, news spreads like wildfire. So I get back to high school, people look at me and they think they see a ghost. They're like, "How are you here?" I'm like, "Because it's Thursday and we have school and it's my senior year." Like, "Your mom just passed." I said, "Yeah, but she really wanted me to graduate. I can't." I had counselors reach out to me, teachers are like, "Hey, look, if you want to take the semester off, your grades are gonna be fine. Just you can come back next semester." And I said, "No." Like, I was really good in speech and debate. I was doing speech and debate. I was really good at it. And that weekend I was at a speech and debate tournament. And when my mom passed, it was difficult, but like in a way, I dealt with my emotions in that one day. And I just said to myself, look, I'm not going to screw this year up. Like my mom didn't want us to screw this year up, me and my brother. And so, I kept going. I finished to graduate high school. And right as I graduated high school, my dad comes and tells me that, I don't have enough money to put you through college, but you know what? Your mom had made a few friends, and one of her friends offered me a job in jewelry at $6 an hour back in June of 2004.
think that's what I made whenever I first started working. $5.15.
That's where you started? Oh my
Well,
goodness.
it
Wow.
was like $5.15 or something early on. I don't remember the minimum wage, but
it's so
it was
crazy.
low.
It was low, right? And I was like, okay, it was so weird because I knew I had to do it because at that time I enrolled into Houston Community College and I started going to HCC. And I remember the first day I got into HCC, I was like, I need to get out of here because I was in the whole AP program back in high school. And I had friends going to Harvard. I had friends going to UT, U of H, all these great colleges and universities. And I'm the one going to HCC. And I wasn't a dumb kid by any definition. And so, but I was like, it is that's the hand the life dealt for me. It is what it is. And so I went through that whole thing and I eventually was in HCC for about a year and a half. And I went to U of H in fall of 2005. I got into U of H, spring of 2006. Spring of 2006, I got into U of H, started doing my, whatever stuff you need to do for your undergrad and stuff. And then I remember the financial crisis hit in 2008. And at that time I was doing accounting finance major and I was almost done with accounting. So I was like, you know what, screw it. I dropped finance and I did straight MIS, which I was scared of doing. I loved computers since I was a kid, but I was scared of programming because I thought I would do terrible. And so, but I said, you know what, screw it. At this point, accounting finance degree is worthless, coming out of college. So I did accounting MIS and I ended up graduating in May of 2011 with accounting, MIS, double majored, minored in marketing. And 3 months prior to graduating, I started my tech company. And that's kind of a little bit of my origin story. And I had job offers like to work for other firms, but I had started freelancing in 2008 because I realized that at that point I was making $10 an hour in jewelry and that wasn't enough, because I remember I had to work 54 hours a week to make $540 a week because I had to pay for my college and I was still living with my dad and my brother in our 2-bedroom apartment in Alief. And I didn't even have a car. So, and even then $540 a week wasn't enough. So I started doing some IT work on the side. And back then I had a girlfriend who was extremely supportive. We did that and she helped me start doing freelance work and everything. And in 2011, I started the company 3 months before I graduated. And my thing was when I graduated, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try this entrepreneurship thing for 1 year. Because I still felt my degree was worth at that time $50,000 a year, even if a year out. And I said, if this doesn't work out, I'm gonna go ahead and just go get a job somewhere. And so I did that. And I loved cars since I was a kid. So I don't know which was yours, but for me it was a BMW. Like attainable car. Like I loved the Ferraris and everything growing up, but attainable, I always thought I could buy a 3 Series.
Mine was too. That was my first nice car.
3 Series?
Yeah.
Dude, which was yours, specifically?
It was a 328. Wow. It was standard.
Yeah, manual. Yep.
Yeah, I remember, and it was silver, but it had a bunch of other upgrades on. It was really nice. I thought it was the coolest.
What year was that?
Jeez, 2001, 2.
Oh my goodness! So you did that back. Wow,
it was pretty soon after high school. I had flipped a couple houses, I had done a couple things. That's awesome. And was making good money in a couple different places. And so it wasn't crazy expensive.
Yep.
Again, being standard, bottom of the 3 Series.
Yes.
It had to be $23,000, $25,000 maybe. It wasn't crazy expensive at all.
But for me, so I finally ended up buying a car 2009. So in 2009, I bought my first car. It was an 01 Honda Accord. I bought it for $7,000. I borrowed a couple of $1,000s from my boss, and then I had a couple of thousand, so I added it all up, and I got $7,000. And I remember at that time, I had asked my aunt, because I never financed a vehicle in my life, so I asked my aunt back then, hey, could you, I have I think $3,000. Could you just co-sign this deal for me so I can get a loan? And it's I need you to co-sign for $4,000. And she came back, she said, okay, fine, I'll do it at first. And then she came back a few days later, and because she had spoken to her kids or something, and they told her, well, what if Nabeel doesn't pay the note? Then, your credit's going to get messed up. So she actually ended up saying no. So I had to actually ask another friend or a couple of people I knew, older people, and they lent me some money. So I was able to buy my first car. It was an 01 Honda Accord. I paid $7,000. And when I started my company, I wanted to get out of that car so bad. Because I bought it because I just needed transportation. And so 1 year into my business, like in 2012, we were doing well. And to where well, not crazy well, but enough to where I could buy like a 3 Series. I was looking for months for a 3 Series coupe, and I ended up buying a 335 X-Drive coupe in May of 2012. And it was for $35,000 all in. And I bought the car severely under market. I remember there was a whole story that happened about it. Maybe we'll go into that at another point. But there was a whole story that caused that car to happen, and I got it at a great deal. And it only had 17,000 miles when I bought it. It was this black with red interior manual. So that was my first manual, my first car, first nice car, first manual. And I bought it. I'm like the happiest kid in the world, like the happiest guy. I'm like, I bought my dream car. And that was interesting because that's when life hit me hard, which is so crazy because you get to this view feels like the pinnacle. And I remember it was June, and then your car payments are due the first 45 days. So I remember my car payment was coming up due like it's the first 2 weeks of June. It was $500 I had to pay. And I had a tech project that I had a client committed to, and he gave me a deposit. And literally we're about to deliver it like in 2 weeks. And he calls me and he's like, Nabeel, I'm no longer doing this deal anymore. This whole deal went to crap. I need a refund. I'm like, what? I've already bought all your equipment and stuff. He's like, no, if you don't give me a refund, I'm going to sue you. I'm like, crap. Okay. I don't want to get into any litigation. So I'm like, fine. I refund him his money. But this is where I think I had one of the most humbling experiences of my life. I had $900 to my name in the second week of June of 2012. I had a $500 car payment and a $1,200 apartment rent that was coming due within 10 days. And this, mind you, is my dream car that I just bought. And I was with my best friend for over 20 years now. And we were sitting in my BMW going down the McDonald's drive-thru. And he paid he wasn't rich either. He was sitting with me, and he paid, I think, $15 for our Happy Meal, whatever lunch, or $1 menu lunch, or maybe like $10 for the $1 meal lunch we got. And I remember telling him, like, I don't know what the heck to do. Like, how can God bring me all the way here and then put me in this predicament? And I had no solution. I couldn't ask my dad for money. I didn't know anybody here to ask for money. I wasn't the guy to ask anybody for money. And I was doing this entrepreneur thing. And I just went to the mosque. Straight up, just went to the mosque. I was like, I have no option. I have $900 to my name. I don't want to default the first payment. I don't want to be evicted from my apartment. I just got to give me some way. I went praying to the mosque every single day, multiple times a day. And then I think, and I would be praying and I would be crying in my prayers. Like, God, like, please don't do this. Like, do not make me default on this. And literally, I think 2 days before my car payment was due, random person calls me, gives me a $6,000 project. I was making a couple of grand on it, which is enough for me to like pay all the bills. Yeah. But after that day, Shawn, I learned, and I've never been the most religious person in the world. But after that day, I learned that, and I was on such a high the month before, that whatever God gives us, he can just take it away the snap of a finger like that. It could be gone. So ever since that day, I always remembered that to be humble, no matter what level of success you have. Like me driving a BMW was someone's dream. It was my dream and it was someone else's dream. And I knew from that day forward to never take a single day for granted. And so ever since that day, if everything I do in life, I never think it's because of me. Like I'm in a really great position, like financially, and I have amazing friends like you and a bunch of other people. I have amazing clients, but it's all because I'm given opportunities by God. That's the way I look at it. So that was my most religious experience, which kind of ties into my origin story in a really weird way. But yeah, that was kind of that most humbling story and my origin story. And then pretty much after that, I'm going to make it a very short story after that. And did tech business for many years. I got into the watch business at the end of 21.
Go back though to the jewelry business.
Oh, sure.
When you worked there.
Yeah.
Tell a little bit of that story. Cause I mean, now you're in jewelry and now you sell watches, but just where you were working, cause you worked there for $6 an hour. What did you say? $6 an hour?
$6. And then when I quit, I was making $10 an hour.
Correct. Yeah. And so tell the story.
So about that. So I loved selling diamonds. So when I first started there, we were just selling these gold chains without diamonds and stuff like that. And I was always curious about diamonds. And so I met a gemologist who is now 85 now. I just met him the other night, and he's 85 now. I met him over, 20 years ago, and he would used to sit down and teach me about diamonds and stuff like that. And my boss that I worked for he knew a little bit about diamonds, but not too much about diamonds. He kept a few diamonds here and there, but I was really fascinated. So I learned so much, and I started telling my boss, like, hey, let's bring some diamonds. And I started building a whole client base of clients for diamonds. And so the way I got from 6 to 10 is I started selling a lot of loose diamonds. And I would have clients come by every week, and they would buy 2-3 carat stones. Like I would be selling, easily 20-30 grand a week for my boss, maybe over 100 grand a month.
Making $10 an hour.
Making $10 an hour. Yeah. And I bought 2 suits. I bought an Emporio Armani suit on sale, and I bought a Versace suit on sale because I was like, I need to look the part. My boss didn't give me $1 for them. Outside of my hourly, I paid those myself. And every day I would pick one of the suits and just wear them. And I just really kind of got into the rhythm of it. And all my clients had my cell phone number and everything. They'd always just call me, hey, we need this, we need this, we need this. And one of the biggest deals I did in jewelry, and that's kind of one of the times when I realized that you can make so much money, is I had an oil and gas guy come in 2007, and he was on his 3rd wife. And he was like, I need to get her a massive ring. I'm like, how big? He's like, I need to buy something like 5-7 carats. So we find this guy. I found him a 7-carat marquise. And we went back and forth on a couple of stone options, but he kind of settled on that. Then we had to custom make a ring. And the whole deal took maybe about 30 to 45 days to finish. And at the end, we ended up selling him this ring for $70,000. And back then, I was making, $10 an hour. I couldn't fathom what kind of lifestyle this guy has to just drop $70,000 in a ring.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, and then I kind of figured out what the numbers were on the other end. Like the way I structured this deal, we made $30,000 on the spread.
Which in jewelry is a little bit high, right?
Yeah.
Because the margins aren't probably what people think, right? Most of the time it's...
Right, and especially not where we were. We're a little wholesale shop, whatever. And so I got really excited. I was like, you know what? I think my boss is going to give me a bonus. And that's when I got my rude awakening. So I finished this deal. Client takes it. He's happy. My boss is paid. Everybody's paid. Everybody's happy. So I told my boss, hey, man, so we did really good, didn't we? Like, hey, we got this big deal done. He's like, yeah, man, good job. You did a great job. I said, cool. So I think I probably like a bonus. He's like, yeah, I got you. I said, okay. So back then I didn't have a car. My boss used to drop me home every day or drop me close to home every day. And so that night we closed the deal. I'm thinking, I didn't think he was going to give me like 10, 15,000. I did not expect that. But I thought, he'd give me like $1,000. He says to me, Nabeel, you did a great job today. I want you to keep up the good work. And here's a Benjamin. I got $100 on top of my $10 an hour. And I wasn't asking for anything, but I was like, $100? Mind you, my pay wasn't commission-based. My pay was, hourly. Okay. So whether I sold a chain for $200 or I sold a diamond ring for $70,000, I made the same money regardless.
Well, that's a good way to lose great people.
That's exactly. And so after that day, I was so disheartened because, back then working with him, I used to think, maybe one day I'll get an opportunity to buy into his business, or maybe there'll be a future, right, of some sort. And then that day I just completely shattered those dreams. And so then I realized okay, this is not a long-term deal. This is just, I got to start looking at exits. And so then what ended up happening was I had a competitor come and he approached me. He's like, Nabeel, you're doing a really good job. Because in that building on the first floor, it was really me who sold diamonds and there was another guy that sold diamonds. And so at the end of the day, if there was a customer looking for a loose diamond, either I got him and I sold him or the other guy sold him.
Yeah.
The competition sold him. And so that competition's owner comes to me and he's like, hey, Nabeel, I would really love to hire you. Could I get you at $15 an hour? I'm like, you're going to pay me 15. So I'm going to give you $15 an hour and I'll give you an option for commissions in 6 months if you're doing really well. I said, great. But I didn't want to be the guy that's an asshole, and quit his boss. So I go to him and I'm like, hey, listen, I got this offer. I'm not giving you this offer because I want to quit. I'm giving you this offer to let you know that's what I've been offered. And I really do need more money. I'm literally making $10 an hour. I have to work here like a dog. to make $540 a week.
It doesn't make any business sense for him not to pay you commission.
Right.
Because he went from making whatever y'all were making per day selling, and then now you have all these diamond clients and you want to keep these clients coming in and he wants you to sell more.
Right.
It's like, it just doesn't make any like financial sense to say, hey, I'll give you 10% of every sale or whatever the number is. I mean, he knew his margins, right? So he could have gave some portion of the sale.
I think in his mind, he never thought I'd leave. And he never thought I'd quit because his goal, I think, was internally was to keep me so dependent on the $10 an hour that I would never be able to do anything. Well, I had to work 54 hours a week. So I never had any of that. And he knew I did 54 hours a week and 12 hours of college every semester. So I had no time. Like I would go to school in the morning. I'd be at work by 1. I'd leave to work at 7. I go home, I do homework. Then I rinse and repeat, do the same thing again, 6 days a week, essentially. And so he knew I had no other opportunities. I couldn't leave. So when this came, I think he was surprised. And so I just told him, look, I don't want to be the asshole. Just match it. Just match it. Or you screw the commission. Just give me $15 an hour. I'm a happy guy, And he said, fine, let me think about it. He comes back to me like 2-3 days later. He's like, listen, I can't match it, but I tell you what, I'll give you $11 an hour. I'm like, is it 11 plus commission? He's like, no, $11 an hour. I'm like, so I'm going to be go from making $540 a week to making $604 a week. He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, I'm sorry. This is the biggest mistake. One of the biggest mistakes I made in my life. Instead of saying, fine, I quit, I'm done, I leave the next day, I told him I'm going to give you 2 weeks. I said, that's my 2-week notice. I'm leaving. You know what he did? A week later, that guy who gave me the offer calls me because I told him, yes, I'm going to work for him, everything. He's like, cool. Calls me. He's like, Nabeel, I cannot hire you. I said, what the heck? He's like, your boss came to me and they did business together and they've known each other at that time 30 years. And he says, if I hire you, he said, we're no longer going to be friends. And one of the shops he had, both the shops he rented from him. Like that guy was like the landlord kind of. And he said, if you hire Nabeel, I'm not only not going to be friends with you anymore, I'm also going to close up my shops with you. I'm not going to pay you rent. Like I'm quitting. Like he was literally going to close down his business. I'm like, what the heck? That's so dramatic. What, you're going to close down your business because he's taking me? You instead of giving me $15 an hour and matching, you're going to threaten to close down your business and threaten to end a relationship you have with the guy for over 30 years.
Well, he only tried to pay you a living because he felt like he had a lot of leverage.
He thought he had a lot of leverage. And so then what happened after that? So I was like, and I understood the other guy's position. I said, okay, fine. It's okay. Don't worry about it. It is what it is. And I went back to my boss and like, so I guess I'm making $11 an hour. He's like, no, you're making 10. I said, okay. Yeah. So then
the greatest got to work for it.
No. Yeah. And you know what happened after that? So then I said, fine. He had me, for lack of better terms, he had me by the balls. There's nothing you could do. So I just said, fine, I make $10 an hour. Now, whether I make $10 an hour selling diamonds or I sell a gold chain, it makes no difference to me. And if you want to kill an employee's vibe, that's the way you do it.
Yeah.
And so what happened then is, I think a month passed and he comes up to me and he's like, Nabeel, what happened? Like, you're not selling like these crazy diamonds anymore. Like, what happened? I'm like, I think all the clients went on vacation. He's like, all your clients went on vacation? Because I had everybody's cell number.
Yeah.
Nobody even called the store. They called me direct, right? So I'm like, yeah, I think they all went on vacation. He's like, I'm like, I actually think they all met each other and they all went on vacation together. I think they're in Miami or something. Maybe they'll come back in a few months. Really? He's like, yep. And at that point, I started thinking of an exit strategy. And that's kind of when I started freelancing IT and all that stuff started happening. And then actually, I formally finally quit in 2011. But from 2008 to 2011, I started cutting down my hours because I was like, there's just no way I could do this. And then I had one more revelation. And, it's weird how God works in the mysterious way. So all this transpires. And then 6-7 months later, I was working at a jewelry store, going to college, everything. And I started doing some freelance IT work. And this one guy comes, like, if you ever seen any Indian movie or a trailer for an Indian movie, he looked like an Indian mob boss. Comes down, shaved head, dark skin. He's coming down with 3-4 people. And he just walks to the first store. He looks at the lady. He says, I can read his lips. He's saying, I'm looking for Nabeel. And the lady points at me and he just starts walking towards me. I'm like, what the heck? Did I do something to this guy? Like, I don't even know this guy. He comes, he's like, you're Nabeel? I said, yeah. He's like, I heard you're good with computers. I said, yeah, I'm decent. He's like, okay, well, I'm starting a new business. I took a 10,000 square foot facility and he came and saw me on a Wednesday. And he's like, I need to be up and operational in my new office by Monday. I said, okay. And he's like, and he dictated all the terms. He's like, I'm going to pay you 15% of whatever my total IT bill is. And back then we used to have Fry's Electronics, whatever he paid at Fry's. And I just did some basic math. I'm like, how many employees do you have? How many computers? Like, I need 10 computers set up with some printers and Wi-Fi. Basic math. I was like, it's $1,000 a computer for an employee, $10,000, 15%. I get $1,500. And I'm not making this $1,500 in 3 weeks. Or 3 weeks. I'm making this $1,500 in less than 5 days. And my mind just blew. And I was like, okay, that's it, done. And literally I told my boss, hey, I'm going to be off on Friday and Saturday and Sunday. I'll see you Monday. He's like, you going to take that many days off? I'm like, yes. He's like, you don't need the money. I said, nope, I'm good. I'm good. I don't need the money. I need a few days off. And I literally went shopping with him. I think he came on a Thursday. He came on a Thursday, and then we went shopping. I took Friday off and Saturday off. And Friday morning, we go to Fry's. He takes me in his car, his BMW, his old beat up BMW. Again, you meet this guy, you're like, this guy probably has like no money, looks poor, but he was rich as heck. So he takes me to Fry's, and then we're out there picking computers and everything. And all the salespeople at Fry's are so happy to meet me and him because we need so many computers and everything. They're all helping us put everything together. At the end, I think the final bill at Fry's came to $13,000. And I remember standing next to him, and he just takes out his Chase Visa card. And he just gives it to the cashier. She's like, "Sir, you'd like to put the whole amount on your Visa card?" She said, "Yes, ma'am." And my mind was blown. I was like, there's this guy who just dropped $13,000 on a card? Like, there's people out there with so much money. Like, oh my God, like my mind blew. And it approved, and everybody, all the salespeople that were following us all around the store, they were so happy. They put everything in his people's cars and everything. And then next thing you know, I worked all weekend long. And Monday I finished. He was up and running. He was operational. And he gave me my check for $1,800. He's like, here, he asked one of his employees, hey, bring me the Fry's bill, bring the Fry's bill. Okay, take the number, 15%. Okay, here's a little roundup. Here's your check. And that's what the first time in my life I learned that you don't have to make money based on how many hours you work. It's based on the skill, like trading your abilities.
Trading your time for money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I had never seen so much money in such a short period of time in my life before that.
You can only you only have so much time that you can trade for the money.
Exactly.
So even if it is a lot of money, you're still only maxed out at X.
Exactly. And it's crazy because, one thing, and you and I are both in the same position in this, all of us are in the same position. We all got 24 hours in a day,
yep.
No matter how much money you have. And so it's crazy to think, like, if you just change that one shift in your mindset, that you're no longer an hourly employee, and you're an employee or a person that makes money by selling their skill, how much of a paradigm shift that is for a person. And that was my paradigm shift. And so,
So fast forward, and then what got you into the actual watch business, jewelry business later on down the road after the IT stuff?
So IT side I did for a good, till 23, 24. And I started the watch business at the end of 21. And the crazy thing, so I got an allocation for a Ferrari SF90 in November of 2020. And back then, I did not have enough money to buy that car. But I wanted allocation. And the way I convinced my wife was I told her that, the car was worth a few $100,000 over sticker at that time. They were trading for over $1 million. And stickers were like around $520 base price. And then you put some options, you're about $600K. And so my wife said yes. And I was making enough money in my IT business to put down the deposit and things like that. And I was like, let me put the order in. And, because I knew it was going to take at least a year for it to come in. And I was going to be in the money when the car arrived. So
true entrepreneur fashion.
True entrepreneur fashion.
I'm going to make it happen.
I'm going to make it happen, right? And then literally it was such a weird feeling because I went in and did the spec session. And I'd been trying to buy this car. I called every Ferrari dealer in the country. They said no. And even this dealer said no twice. And then I ended up at a Ferrari event, and I met a sales guy that kind of, I guess, liked me, felt pity for me, he said he had an allocation and he'd give it to me. And a little back and forth later, we ended up in a spec room, my son and I. My son at the time, Zidane, was 2 years old. And we spec'd this car, spent 3 hours doing our initial spec. Initially, it was Rosa Corsa red with a brown interior. And I was like, great, good spec, done. And when you finish a Ferrari spec, they give you a render sheet, like a render booklet. It has like a few pictures of your car from different angles. You get to see it. And what I did is I got home and I just kept staring at the pictures. Like, my God, this car that come out looking beautiful. Like back then I had a McLaren. I had a 2019 McLaren 570 Spider, which I made enough money in the tech business to pay for that. But this was a whole nother level car. You're talking.
Do they sell the S7? Do they sell Ferraris at MSRP, or do you still have to pay over MSRP if you have the allocation?
So if you have the allocation, you always pay MSRP.
Okay.
Regardless of whether the market is up or down, you always pay MSRP. And so then I was like, man, this car is really beautiful. And then one stupid idea came in my head. I'm like, what if you could actually keep this car? What would it take for you to be able to buy this car? And I said, you know what? It was post-COVID. We're talking end of 2020. This is November 2020. And, I said, you know what? Let me try to find a way to make more money and start a second business. So first thought of mine, because everybody was doing this in COVID, is day trading. I'm like, you know what? Let's do day trading. I have a couple of bucks in my account. Let's start day trading. And so January 2021 hits. I joined a trading group and I started doing day trading. And I set up my 3 monitors and what I did on the wallpaper is I took the booklet the PDF that my sales agent had given me from Ferrari, and I put my first main monitor to the cockpit view, so I could see the interior of my car as a background of my wallpaper. And then my second screen, I had the front exterior of the car, the front view, and the right, I had the rear view. So every day I would sit on my computer from 6 o'clock to 3 o'clock. That's when you trade the markets. I would stare at these images all day long, and I would just say to myself, I got to make enough money to buy this car. And if you look at your trading account, and if say you have a bunch of money in there, this is where you flat line, this is where you start, right? Flat. And then in June, I had a trading violation, and so my account froze. And so when I was like, you know what? And they said I couldn't trade for like a couple of weeks. I'm like, man, this sucks, but oh well. Let me just take a look at how I'm doing. Because when you're in the mode of trading, you don't realize how much money you're making. Because some days you make 5,000, some days you lose 7,000, some days you make 15,000, some days you lose 20,000. And so I look at my account and I'm like, wait, so I started here in January of 2021, and we're now in June of 2021, and I'm over here. So in the middle, there's up, down, up, down, up, down, down. So I ended up exactly where I started. I'm like, this is not going to work. I spent 6 months of my life and I made almost nothing. This is silly. And but the one thing that day trading taught me, was discipline. Because you have to be disciplined. Because if you're emotional, you're going to lose a ton of money. Yeah. Especially because the positions we would take, like we would take a position $10,000, $20,000 at a time. I remember I used to like just play with Tesla, and I'd have positions in Tesla between $100,000 to $200,000, in one position. And you're just waiting for the pennies to go up. Because if you have a $200,000 position in Tesla and it goes up like 10 cents or 20 cents, you make a few $1,000s or lose a few $1,000s depending on how that's swinging. And so then I realized the anxiety that comes from trading. Like I learned discipline, but I couldn't deal with the anxiety of trading. And that's where I was losing it. And so
you have no control though. It's just like gambling. Right. Day trading is very
kind of.
much a little bit. I mean, it's just like gambling. So you have no control. That's why I never like gambling, because at least in business, my outcome is most of the time, not always, like a little bit controlled, right? It depends on how hard I work, don't work. I mean, market conditions change, things happen, and things don't always go your way. But it's like a controlled, it's controlled gambling. It's like a controlled gambling where you have some sort of,
it's very controlled risk. And I agree with you 100%. And I think, so I learned enough discipline to improve myself in business. And when I kind of got into the watch business a few months later, it was kind of the same thing. You're trading, but you're not trading with that much volatility.
Much more predictable.
Right. So if I bought that stainless steel Daytona at 32,000, well, it's not going next day down to 25. No. It may go to 31, 30,500 on the absolute Armageddon day. But for the most part, it was kind of stay where it was going to be. And so it didn't have the crazy volatility that you had in day trading. And what happened was, so I went through that for 6 months, and then I was like, this is not going to work. I was still doing IT business. We were doing well. We were growing that business quite a bit. And I was like, I was like pumping gas in it because I needed to grow, because I had this Ferrari coming. And one crazy thing about the Ferrari that happened in the 6 months in between the trading and everything was, I got a phone call from my sales agent because I made a stupid mistake. And I think when I initially got the allocation, because it was so hard to get these, I got so excited. I think I shared it with 2 or 3 friends that, I got an SF90 allocation. And those 2 or 3 friends, I guess, shared it with other 2 or 3 friends. And then apparently they ended up calling my salesperson's dealership. And they said, how the heck did Nabeel get an SF90 allocation
When
I didn't get one? I bought 3 Ferraris from you. I mean, back then, the SF90 allocation, you need to have 5, 6 Ferraris. The dealer had to love you to give you the allocation. So my salesperson calls me in like middle of 21, and he's like using a bunch of expletives I can't say here, but he was like, who the F told you that you have an allocation, but you can't go around telling people? You tell people next time I'm not even gonna call you. This is a very much of a recording. So he's yelling at me. Here's my Ferrari salesperson is yelling at me, like shouting at me on the phone. He's like, you are not allowed to sell another single soul about this car, because if I get one more phone call on your allocation, you will never hear from me again. Automatically, the next day you'll see some extra money in your bank account, and that'll be the refund of your deposit. And we were never going to speak. And after that day, I never spoke about it again. But the funny thing about Zidane and him being tied into all of this, our son, was that the day I ordered the car, November 2020, was the day I created his Instagram, Ferrari Baby. And back then, everybody would look at me like, why are you calling him a Ferrari baby? You drive a McLaren. I'm like, he looks like a Ferrari baby. But that was my little like niche on that. But anyways, so long story short, I did day trading, and day trading didn't quite work out. And then, so 6 months, I was just doing IT, trying to bump it up. And then I went to my wife one day, and like end of 21, I'm like, hey, what do you think about if I did the watch business? She's like, well, you already buy so many silly watches. You spend so many thousands of dollars. It'd be nice if you actually made $1 from this business. I said, okay. But I knew the watch business was going to be way more difficult than anything else I ever did. Because unlike any other business, you get a business license and you go to set up your wholesale accounts with the vendors, distributors, and you just start selling. The watch business is a completely 180 of that. Like, you need to have relationships. You need to know where to get them. You can't go to the AD because AD is not going to sell you any watches. And you just kind of have to build a lot of wholesale connections. So the first 2 years in the watch business, I wasn't even doing anything retail. I was just mainly building a list of wholesale dealers I could work with, and buying and selling wholesale. That's all I was doing. And it wasn't until the 3rd year in the business I started branching off, doing more retail. And then 4th year, now I'd say it's 70% retail, 30% wholesale is where the business sits today. But it took 4 years to get here, and it's really hard. Like, you lose a bunch of money. My first year in the watch business, I lost over $100,000. Which is
buying wrong.
Yeah, well, the market shifted. It wasn't that I was buying wrong; it's that the whole market shifted. In 22, right as the Russia-Ukraine war started, like within a week of that, the whole watch market flipped.
Wow.
I think it was the panic from the COVID buying spree had kind of started dying off a little bit.
That happened with a ton of industries, though. The COVID boom, like once that started ending, people were just so used to these like crazy prices,
right?
Crazy just amount of sales. Like, I mean, the massive amount of money that people were spending. And then that happened with everybody. My wife said the same thing. Like, anybody that I know, like, you rode this boom, and then it just... You're like, oh my God, it collapsed. But it's like, no, it's just getting back to normal kind of.
Yeah. I mean, the market, we all knew the market was kind of insane, but nobody thought it would drastically come down as quickly as it did in the watch market. And so it was right in that. And I think what freaked out a lot of people, a lot of watch dealers, was because Russia was one of the largest buyers for Swiss timepieces. And all of a sudden, they were like completely blacklisted, annexed. Like, you couldn't ship a watch to Russia. Period. Like, FedEx wouldn't deliver. Like, it's not even an option. So that whole market just completely got like blacklisted. So that affected how much trade and inventory ended up, because the watch market, there's a lot of trading that happens between Hong Kong, New York, pretty much Hong Kong and US, there's a lot of trading that happens. And when that starts getting closed down, it affects the market. And then Russia was another big buyer, and Russia was completely closed down overnight. And so we would see these like prices start going down. And if you were caught in the middle of it, like, I lost like over $100,000. But I remember talking to some dealers that summer in 22. They're like, Nabeel, you're so lucky. I remember the most revealing conversation I had was with one Houston dealer. And I remember he was in one of the watch groups, and he posted like, I think 7 watches for sale. And they were expensive Pateks, and he was asking like $400,000 for them. And I messaged him. I said, bro, like, and he actually he put in the post, I'm losing $300,000. He had paid close to $700,000 for these watches. And he was liquidating them $400,000. And I messaged him, and I started talking to him like, bro, like, how can you like I just lost $100,000. How are you justifying this? He's like, Nabeel, there's, how many watch dealers would kill to be in your position? Like, just to lose 100. Like, I'm losing 300 right off the bat. There's people I know that have lost over 3 million in a matter of 7 days. like, it was kind of nuts how the whole valuations completely shifted. And he's like, and I said, well, how do you justify losing $300,000? He's like, Nabeel, listen, the $700,000 of the watches I have, I'll never get the 700 back. At least not in the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe hold it for 10 years
Yeah,
or something.
maybe.
Yeah.
And he says, but if I can liquidate the 400 into cash at 400K in Benjamins, well, I can reuse that money, keep buying, selling at today's market prices. And eventually I'll get back to 700,000, maybe take me a few years even, but at least I'll get there. But holding on to these and praying one day that they get to 700, it's just not going to happen. And that completely did a whole mind shift on me. I mean, that because I had lost a bit of money, but I was holding on to a bunch of watches too at that time because I was like hoping the market was going to come back. Yeah. And after that conversation, I honestly was like, you know what? Screw it. He's absolutely right. And actually, I lost 100,000, but honestly, that was the best $100,000 I ever lost in my life because I learned how this business actually operated. And you make and lose money in this business every single day. And that's just part of business. Because coming from the tech business, you never really lost money. Because whenever I bid a project, like I tell you, Shawn, it's $20,000. Well, I'm not really keeping $20,000 worth of inventory to sell you. You say yes, I call my vendor, I put an order, it comes in, I do my work, I get paid. I'm always making money.
Inventory businesses are hard.
Yes, that's
no matter what it is. And then your stuff also fluctuates. But just in general, heavy inventory business, like heavy cost of goods, it's tough.
It is tough.
It's tough to run.
And so that was just kind of like the watch journey and the watch business. And now I'm in it. And now, we're branching off. We're doing a little bit of jewelry stuff, which you get to be one of our first clients. And I'm so pleased we got to do a special project for you. Great. So, that was kind of taking back the skills I learned back in, the early days. So that was cool.
So you're mainly watches, less jewelry?
Yeah, mainly. But I think we're going to 26. We're going to be more jewelry and more special projects. Like I love doing like custom projects and custom work. Like
also, your watch buyer is also probably a jewelry buyer. Even if he doesn't wear jewelry, he's buying it for girlfriend, wife, significant other, whatever. So he's also buying other stuff. So you already have the client.
Exactly. You already have the client. It's just kind of like adding another line item.
Like, hey, look what I'm carrying now.
Exactly. And, and for me, like if I can do like custom projects, special projects, I think that's for me very fulfilling.
What's the most brand? I mean, what watch is the most in demand right now? Like what does everybody want? What's like the it watch that's like, you can't get your hands on, or it's just...
Yeah. Good question. So there's two ways I can answer it. I think the number one brand that everybody wants to buy across the board is Rolex. Because that kind of goes for everybody, right? That's your bread and butter. But if you're talking about like special hard to get pieces and stuff like that.
Maybe, like outside of Rolex, like what's the hot brand that everybody wants to get their hands on?
I think Richard Mille has gone up a lot the past 6 months to a year. It's been booming just because they only make 5,000 watches.
I was about to say limited production.
Very limited production. And what's crazy is you'll see like there's watches that you will see that a year ago who were trading around 250 to 275 all day long. And even then it was tough to find a buyer. And today that same watch is being sold 375 to 400. In the market, and then you kind of feel like this is maybe the top of the market. But RMs have a tendency to do that. Richard Milles are so limited production that in 1 month a watch can be trading 300,000, and there's maybe 10 for sale in the whole world. And then the next month there's only 3 for sale in the whole world. And guess what? If there's only 3 for sale versus 10 for sale, supply and demand means now all of a sudden that 300,000 watch. Now the guy's like, you know what? I'm not selling it below 325. Because there's only 3 of them, and the other 2 guys see the guy selling for 320. We're like, well, I'm selling for 322.
Somebody really wants to
and selling for 320. Like, that's your market now. And what's the craziest thing of being a watch dealer is you get to see this market making happen.
If someone could be any level of watch buying, whether it's a first watch or second or 50th, if they're buying watches for an investment, what are good ones to buy? And what are some things maybe they should watch out for? Yeah. If they're truly looking at like, hey, I want to at least hold its value. I want to make money on it one day. Like, what should they do? Box papers is number one. Okay. And make sure those box papers are real. Because unfortunately in our industry now. How do they do that? How do they check it? Honestly, there's no independent way to really check it. You really have to trust the watch dealer you're buying from. Recently, I got offered an RM way below market. And it was a combination of a person who said he had a celebrity client that had the watch, and
he wanted to sell it, but the celebrity client could not be part of the transaction officially. And then when I looked at the watch, a couple of things looked a little off. It had the papers, but then I started doing a deep dive and due diligence to it, and then come to find out the crazy thing, from what our conclusion was and the couple of dealers I spoke to, the movement was real. The case was fake. The strap was fake. The papers were real, but they belonged to a different watch.
Okay.
And the guy wanted close to $300,000 for the watch. If the watch was 100% real, it would trade $350 all day, every day. But you had to really kind of know what you're doing to kind of look at that deal. And I walked away because I was like, it's not the real watch. At the end of the day, it's not the real watch. It's not a real movement, but doesn't belong in that case.
Somebody will get stuck with it at some
Somebody's
point.
gonna get
Whether
stuck
it's
with
the next buyer or the next buyer or the next buyer.
But see, that's a scary thing though, because I wonder who ended up buying it. Because see, someone bought it because they went on Corner 24. They're like, this is a $350,000 watch. I'm about to buy it in the twos. I'm in the money. The guy showed me the papers and they Googled this stuff and they're like, well, this looks real on Google. And then next thing you know, they bought it. They probably send the guy a wire. But then when they go to exit that watch, they're going to be at really bad.
There's some verification place they could send it into. Just no.
If you go to RM, so with specifically Richard Milles, you go to RM, and unless you have everything all together, they're not going to look at the watch. Or you have to send it for RM service. And if you send it to RM service, it takes 6 months. And
so that's
not
going to help anything.
It's not going to help anybody make a deal happen.
Yeah.
And so that's, RMs, you have to be super cautious. Pateks, you have to be super cautious. There's fake papers. I've heard dealers tell me there's fake RM papers. There's fake RM papers. There's fake Patek papers out there,
In any luxury market.
Yeah.
There's so much fraud and where somebody has that much money that potentially you can make, there's tons of fraud and scams and
and it honestly at the end of the day it comes down to the watch dealer you're working with. You really have to trust that person. That's why I always tell people, I'm like, listen, even if you're not working with me, that's fine. But whoever you're working with, make sure you trust them with your money. Like they're like your bro. At that level, because at the end of the day, they have to be willing to stand up for you. And everybody can make a mistake. Everyone can make a mistake. I can make a mistake. You can make a mistake. But who has standing to go and fight for you? Because number one thing is when problems occur, most people, their habit is to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I sold this to you 6 months ago. I'm not interested. Go sue me." Right? That's it. That's a standard. That's the default response. It really takes someone with merit and grit to actually kind of stand up and have that conversation. And I think that's who you should look for when you're looking for a watch dealer. Okay. It's someone you really trust. So.
What about a watch brand that they should invest in? Or if they're looking at brands or things for investment, what should they look at?
So the first thing I'll tell you about watches, you should not treat them as investment tools. I think if you're really looking to make investments,
a lot of people justify it with the investment.
Yeah, they do.
It's I'm buying this for a new investment. Just really you want it, but you also want to know in the back of your mind, it's I'm not going to lose money.
Well, so here's the thing. Even though I'm a watch dealer, I never look at watches as investments. The way I look at it is, you could spend your money buying shoes or sneakers from Louis Vuitton or Hermes or wherever, which if you buy any of that stuff outside of Hermes Birkins and handbags and whatever stuff, most of the stuff that you buy, I bought Hermes sneakers. They're not worth anything after I walk out of the store with them, but they're on my feet. They're on the sole starts to ground. They're worth nothing. Whereas watches, for example, the other day, even if you bought that rose gold Sky Dollar at $65,000 and you wear that watch for a year and you bang it up, you scratch it up, short of you destroying that watch to complete oblivion, you'll still exit it in north of 50s, maybe even low 60s. Yeah. You'll still exit it. So most of your money's still there. So I never tell people to look at it as investment. I look at it as a way of, something you can own and enjoy, and it opens up networks and connections that you don't know exist. And I had a client that I started with, 2 years ago. The guy just had a Rolex date just when I first met him. And he always wanted to buy a Pepsi for the longest time. The guy was hunting down ADs for years, trying to get a Pepsi for 3-4 years, and they would never sell him one. They always want to play games with him. And then finally, I think he was fed up. He's like, I'm going to buy a Pepsi. Comes to me, we sell him a Pepsi, secondary market, brand new example. He buys it. And he comes to me like 2-3 weeks later. He's like, Nabeel, thank you so much for sending me the Pepsi. I love it. But what's crazy is my conversations changed. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm in the real estate business. And the people that I, do real estate with, now they're seeing me with a Pepsi on my wrist versus a date just. So now I'm getting offered different opportunities I never got offered before. I'm like, what? Are you serious? He's like, yeah, 100%. I'm like, okay, well, that's good. I'm happy for you. He's like, I love the watch. I want to say thank you so much. I said, you're very welcome. So happy to be a part of it. Cool. Everything goes good. Guy calls me back 2 months later. He's like, hey, man, I need to buy another watch. I'm like, cool, what's up? You want to trade out of the Pepsi so soon? He's like, I thought you loved it. He's like, I love the Pepsi. I'm not trading. I'm keeping it. I'm like, what do you want? He's like, I want a stainless steel Daytona. I'm like, are you sure? He's like, 100%. Just get it from me. And at that time, at the end of 23, the new reference Daytonas had just launched. So that's the new reference black dial. The new reference white dial had just come out. And at the time, he was like, I need to have it. I'm like, you sure? You're going to pay stupid money? He's like, done. I want the watch. I'm like, I think you're going to be the first one in Houston. Because I think at that point, the Rolex 80s in Houston hadn't even gotten one. Directly. He's like, no, I want it. So we order the watch, gets it. I think as far as I know, at that time back in August or September of 2023, he was one of the first people walking around Houston with a brand new stainless steel white dial Daytona that they just announced, a few months earlier. And so I'm like, he's like, cool, I'm happy. I'm like, cool. And so he calls me again in December. I'm like, dude, what's up? Are you okay? He's like, I need another watch. I'm like, you need another watch? What's going on? He's like, no, I need to trade out the Daytona. I'm like, you need to trade out the Daytona? You just bought it at the top of the market. You want to get out? He's like, I want to get out. I'm like, okay, what do you want now? He's like, I need a Patek Philippe. I'm like, you need a Patek Philippe? He's like, I need a Patek Philippe. So we find him this Patek 5167, a fully sealed from a dealer I work with out in the Middle East. Literally, the box comes sealed in the watch comes with the full set, but it comes in a box, a cardboard box. And the watch, when you open out the cardboard box, it's a plastic seal. So when Pateks go to authorized dealers, they're sealed. Like you have to cut the plastic, take it out. Every Patek dealer in the world is supposed to cut that plastic bag and put the watch on display or put it in their safe. Only 1% of Patek circulation in the secondary market is actual true sealed Patek, like never been touched by a human after it left factory. And he was adamant about getting that, okay? So we got that, all the way from the Middle East. He comes to my office. He literally cut the seal himself with the scissors to meet sizes 516780 fit him. And he buys the watch right there and then. And for him, his justification was, I am making so much more money now wearing these timepieces. And I'm making so many more connections that honestly, these timepieces had paid for themselves in full already. So any depreciation, whatever he took on his exits, were nothing compared to the amount of money he made. So I think when you look at timepieces as an investment, you should look at it from the perspective of what kind of doors would the timepieces open for you that you may not already have access to.
Well, everything, right? The money, the appreciation, and then also all the other benefits.
Exactly.
And they just look really cool.
They just look really cool. And, they hold most of their value for the most part. You're buying AP Patek, Rolex. It's going to hold pretty strong. Richard Mille also. I think Richard Mille, some of the RM pieces right now are really overbought. And I think if you're about to buy some RM pieces today, I think you may be buying them at the top of the market and you may be in for a very rude awakening in 2026.
What's the most expensive watch that you've sold?
Richard Mille. I sold a couple of them, about $230, $250 price point, RMs. Yeah. 2026 goal is to maybe do something higher. So we'll see. So yeah. Okay. But yeah, investment wise, I think Pateks are really good right now. Again, depending which reference, but make sure you get full set box papers and work with a dealer that you trust and that will have your back. God forbid something happens.
Hey everyone, real quick, I just want to let you know this podcast is 100% independent. No ads. No sponsors, just real. If you're finding value in whatever we're doing here, the biggest help that you can give us is hitting subscribe and sharing this with someone who you think needs to hear it or someone that it will provide value to. That's how we continue to grow. And if you did that, I would really appreciate it. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
What's one thing still today as a businessman or just in life in general that you're still insecure about?
Oh my God, so many.
What's one of the main ones?
I think I've always been I've been a very friendly person all my life. I'm always nice to everyone I meet, and I try my best never to treat anybody wrongly or do anything bad to them. And as far as I know, I haven't. But recently, back in like late 2025, I came across my first ever experience with haters. I never had to deal with haters before. Like I think for the lack of any better terms, like I had enough clout or anything. I kind of always live in my own wheelhouse and do my own thing. You know, I live on my own terms and stuff. But yeah, I feel I got some haters late this year. And so dealing with that was a bit difficult for me to deal with that, honestly speaking. And it took a lot of conversations with some cool close friends and just kind of talking throughs to kind of just understand that, look, if you're doing well in life, you're always going to have critics.
Bothered me early on too.
Yeah.
No, not so much.
Yeah. How long ago did that happen for you when you had to kind of start dealing with it?
I don't even know. It was, I would take it back to whenever I first started doing well. Like I was in my 20s.
Right.
And so that's where the most of it came from.
Okay.
Well, as I got older and you know, showed more proof and longevity and everything, like not so much really anymore.
Okay.
Like I don't really have that issue anymore at all.
Yeah.
But in my 20s,
it was hard.
It was weird. Yeah, coming from a small town
Yeah.
and like there was a lot of one story I had that Gentry used to get so mad because these people would be like, "Oh, Shawn, there's no way he's making it. He must be doing something legal. He must be doing this. He must be doing this." And like she would get so mad because she saw how hard I worked. Yeah. I'm like, "Don't worry about it." I was like, "They don't know. That's it. They don't even know anything about business.
Yeah.
Like you can't even. I mean, it's like I would laugh, but she would get like, and some of it would bother me, and some of it depends on who it was, right?
Yes.
But she would get
when it's a close one's hating on you, that's the worst. Yeah. That hurt me the most.
That's hard for anybody.
Yeah.
Because you probably value their opinion.
Yes.
And then when it's negative, you're like, man. And like it takes you a second to think about it and reflect on it. And now I don't care. Right. But in my 20s, I cared. I mean, it was like, I didn't want people to think bad about me or say all this stuff about me. And, you know, it really depended on who it was. Gentry would get mad. I'm like, Gentry, it's not that big of a deal. And she tried to take up for me. I was like, it's like, you don't have to. It's not a big deal at all. You know,
recently, like, and you saw a little bit of this on my Instagram. I was on vacation, and it was a little religious experience. So I went to Saudi Arabia.
We went everywhere.
Yeah, alhamdulillah, was amazing. We went to Saudi Arabia, we went to Makkah, Medina, and Jeddah. And Makkah, you know, we did Umrah with my family, which is a kind of like a mini Hajj. It's kind of a pilgrimage you do. As a Muslim, you're supposed to do at least Hajj once in your life. And Umrah is like a mini Hajj. Hajj takes about a week, 10 days to do. Umrah, you could do it in one day. It just takes a few hours. And it just kind of, you go around the Kaaba 7 times, and there's a walk you do inside that masjid that's up and down 7 times. And for us, you know, we did that with our kids, and our kids are 5 and 7. And being in Saudi Arabia and being in Makkah and then going to Medina, which is where our Prophet's mosque is, and seeing that and being around those people. And, you know, it's like, it's really weird, Shawn, because like, you know, you and I, we live here, we have a very blessed life. I say every day, I have a very blessed life. I'm the luckiest guy in the world. So some of my biggest problems every morning is just picking which car do I drive in the morning. You know, like I'm blessed to have that issue, right? And you go there in Makkah, Medina, and you see all these people from all over the world. Like I'm in a position where I could do this once a year if I wanted to, and it's okay. Those people save up. Some of those people save up their whole lifetime just to do this once in their lifetime, and they're just so happy to do this pilgrimage. And they would give candies to our kids. So it was like Halloween in a way for our kids, because they finished Umrah and they came back to the hotel room and they had bags full of candies, and they're from all over the world, like candy from Nepal, like candy from Africa, like all over the place, right? And it really put things into perspective where nobody over there was worried about politics or what's going on so much in the world. They're just there to do this one thing, and everybody's happy. Like you go to the bazaars, the market, it looks like everybody's rich because they're all out there shopping. They're all there buying and stuff like that. Like the whole mindset was 180 of what we have over here. And that being in that environment for, 2-3 weeks, and then we ended up in Dubai, and we went to Abu Dhabi, we did F1, and the whole juxtaposition of, I remember on a Friday we did Umrah in Makkah in Saudi Arabia, and 2 weeks later I was in Abu Dhabi at F1. So if you look at it, it's like Umrah is like a mini pilgrimage of all the Muslims. And when we went in November, apparently they just released statistics, I think over 60 million people came to Makkah in 1 month. And then we go to F1 2 weeks later, and it's that F1, it's like the motorheads pilgrimage. All the petrol heads of the world are there. And to see that juxtaposition was so insane for me. And then, I come back and I'm just like, I honestly had so much calmness. Like I realized that this world goes on no matter what happens. No one has control over how much money you make or what you do. The only one person has control over how much money you make, and that's God. So no matter how many haters I have, no matter who wants to say what about me or who wants to take business from me and stuff, it's okay because it doesn't come from them. The business comes from the way I believe it comes from Allah. And if you're a good person and you do good deeds, like he'll take care of you. Like honestly, like they say, like we got to go do Umrah. Like we were trying to go do Umrah for the last couple of years, or for one reason, something would just not line up. Like something would happen, we would not be able to go. And this year we were able to go, everything lined up. I was able to close all my deals, do everything. I sold so much in November, like business wise. Like November was probably our best month this year. It was right before we left for Umrah, which is crazy.
I believe in all that same stuff, not so much like a certain religion, but all the same thing. Like if I just treat people really good, if I do the right thing in business, and sometimes it doesn't work out in the short term, but it eventually always works out in the long term somehow. And so, and I feel a lot better just living my life that way.
And then honestly, like, when you think about those little things, like those things bothering, like the haters and stuff, they take so much of your time when they shouldn't take any of your time, but they take so much of our time, like from mentally, like just the thought process of it. And it's just easier to just move on and just look, people say what they're going to say. Like, as long as you're doing good deeds, you're being a good person, you're living life the right way. That's all that matters. And so I just, came from that whole trip, and I was like, you know what? I have a little bit different perspective on life now after I came back. Like, I'm just move forward, move bigger, do bigger things. Like I'm very blessed. I'm so glad and blessed to have you as a friend, as a client, and have so many people in the same position, and have so many amazing clients who believe in what we do and what I stand for, and how we do business and how well we take care of our clients. I have nothing, like, honestly, just I want to just grow and expand upon that, and it's so fulfilling. Like, when you meet a client that's really happy with the transaction that they did with you, and it makes a difference. And what's so crazy for me in this business versus tech business, in the tech business, I was always a cost center, right? Like you go in, like if you own so many businesses, if you're doing an IT project in one of your businesses, you're gonna look at the bids. You're gonna go with the cheapest bid or the bid that makes the most sense. Whereas in this business, it's a 180.
Customer service.
It's customer service, but
in relationship too. In this market, you just want to be able to text somebody and get what you want.
Exactly.
I know he'll take care of it.
Right.
I trust him.
Yeah.
I'm just going to shoot him a text. Like I'm thinking about it this morning, and you don't have to do anything else.
Right. And not only is it going to happen, but then also the 180 is now, instead of being a cost center like I was in the tech business, I now get to do celebratory stuff. Like I get to celebrate your anniversary. I get to celebrate your occasion. Like you're buying a timepiece because you're celebrating something, you're celebrating your success or whatnot. So you get to be on the happy side of it versus trying to be the cost side. I remember when I was back in the tech business, when I first bought the McLaren, I went to a couple of car meets, and I talked to a couple of entrepreneurs. They're like, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" I'm like, "I have a tech company. I can help you with IT infrastructure." They're like, "Well, if you're driving a McLaren, you're probably too expensive for me." And that never, like, in that whole perspective,
don't drive up to bid a job in your McLaren.
It's such a shift, because see, now here's the opposite. See, if I meet you and I'm driving my SF90 and you give me a small deposit for a watch, or even you order a watch from me, you're not worried. You're like, well, this guy drives a freaking Ferrari SF90. He's not a runaway with 20 grand or 30 grand of my money, right? At least you hope not, right? Because I have some level of success. So whereas in the same thing, the car was a detriment to me in my other business. Oh, he must be too expensive if he's driving this car. It's a positive in this business. Oh no, he must be credible if he's driving this car. And that's the crazy shift. So
what would you go back, if there's one thing you can go back and tell yourself when you were younger, or 18, or whenever you first started off, what would you go back and tell yourself? What would you go back and warn or give advice about that you think it would benefit you now?
So when I was 18, and I remember this because my mom died. And for me back then, I was like, I guess 18, 19 when my mom died. And for me back then, I was 19 when my mom died. So for me back then, around that age, my dad worked at a gas station. We were living in A-Leaf, and I just wanted a way out. And I never thought in a billion years that I would be able to get to even where I am today. And so I would tell my young self, keep hope. Like, keep hope. And that's why I tell all young entrepreneurs. I meet young people all the time. I'm like, listen, I knew this early on, like a little bit, but like, just dream big. I remember there was a saying in A-Leaf Taylor High School. We had a little sign posted near the cafeteria. And it said, always aim for the moon. Because in the event you miss, you will land amongst the stars. And I never forgot that. It's now, 20 plus years ago. And it's so true. Like, just aim high. Like, a lot of times we prevent ourselves from being successful. Because if you look at how the college system is developed, it is developed to make the ideal employee. And your biggest pay bump you'll ever get in life is your first job out of college. Because while you're in college, you're making zero to little money. And you get that $75,000 offer, that $100,000 offer. You're like, oh my God, that's more money than my life. But that is literally your shackles.
And you get stuck.
Then you get stuck because your pay raises after that are 3 to 5% a year.
Yeah.
So if you work 10 years and you start at $100,000, you're now making 150. Whereas if you spend 10 years being an entrepreneur, and I mean being an entrepreneur in anything, as long as you're passionate about it, I always tell people this: if you're gonna be an entrepreneur, be committed and be passionate and be willing to do it for free. That's the number one thing. You have to be willing to do what you're going to go in business to do for free.
That's the advice that I have a lot of parents that message me and say, what should my son do? He's not really interested in college. He's not really good at this or whatever. I'm like, this is what he should do. Whatever he's interested in, he needs to go work.
Yes.
And not for some big corporation. He needs to go work for a smaller company where he has either access to the owner, or he works with the owner, or he works closely with the top people and learn everything he can about it. And so technically he's not working for free, but he's doing it to learn everything he can. I said, because number one, it will show them, they will learn what's good about that business, what's bad about that business, what they think they could do better.
Right.
They'll learn all the contacts, the vendors, everything about it. And then you go do that thing.
Right.
And so that's the advice I give to younger people. It's like, if you want to go do something, you learn about, you were in the jewelry business when you were younger. I mean, you went back to it.
Right.
But if you were never in the jewelry business, I don't know if you would have sold watches.
I don't know. I always loved watches, so maybe I would have ended up in either way. But I loved watches more ever kind of the jewelry, because that's when I learned about Rolex a little bit. So even though we never really sold them, I kind of learned about them a little bit.
I didn't know anything about them until later on. Not early. I had cars first. I was really interested in. Right. And then watches a little bit later on when I started making a little bit extra money and started meeting different people and learning the story you said or something about it.
Exactly. And that's true. And it's but the reason I say it's so important that you're willing to do it for free is because as entrepreneurs, and you can probably relate this, you will always have times in your business where you're going to make no money. You'll have days where you'll make no money. You'll have weeks where you'll make no money.
Years.
Hopefully years. Hopefully not years. I wouldn't say months. Hopefully not months where you make no money.
I've been there a bunch of times.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So not that I made zero.
Yeah.
But there's been times where, it's crazy. You make more money than you ever thought.
Yeah.
Then it's make zero.
Right.
And then it's maybe you lose a little bit because you're investing in the next thing, because what worked before doesn't work now.
Exactly.
So, there's always some sort of investment in the future. And so never, whatever you do, it never just stays the same all the time. I know that.
But if you love what you do and you're passionate about it, those days when you're not making money, it's not going to feel like you're wasting your time. Yeah. Because number one thing is, if you're doing something that you're doing to make money, then the days you're not making money, you're going to feel depressed. You're going to feel sad. You're going to want to close up shop. You're going to want to quit the business. And that's when businesses fail. Jeff Bezos, before Amazon hit it big, he had one of his worst years the year before that. And he thought about closing up shop and filing bankruptcy and being done. And then the year later, he made it big.
I think every entrepreneur has that.
Right.
It's always that situation.
You're always at the cusp, So I think you're passionate, but I think number one thing you need in business is passion. Okay. The second thing you need is grit. You need to be able to do everything on your own. One of the things I learned in being an entrepreneur is when I had the tech company, we used to do digital signage for restaurants and stuff. So we do digital menus. And one time a client came to me, he's like, hey, you do just such a great job with digital signage. Can you just do some wall graphics for me? Because we're going to do the artwork anyways, and your art designer is really good. Maybe you can start doing this. So I was like, okay, I got him with a sign guy who did graphics and stuff. And then he helped me do some wall graphics. And the way I looked at it was, look, I already have the client. I'm already sending them digital signage. Let me just, if I get a wall graphic for $500, I can sell it for $700. That's extra $200 margin. And if we do multiple wall graphics, I'm now making a few $1,000s extra, right? So as an entrepreneur, I was like, that's smart. But then, long story short, we even got in the sign business briefly. But what I learned after all of that, because I was always dependent on that sign guy, the day he didn't show up, I couldn't make a sign, I couldn't print a graphic, I couldn't get approvals from the city, and my whole now business or part of my business depended on one person. And that's when I learned that never do that, because he eventually went like completely messed up and everything. I lost a few good tech clients out of it because they were upset with me. Now, we all delivered everything, but the timelines were way off. It just took too long. And then they fired us eventually. They never used us again. They finished whatever project we were doing, but then they never used us again. I understood that, but it was a crazy time. So that's when I learned as an entrepreneur, anything you do in your business, whatever you are selling or doing, make sure you know how to do it from A to Z. So in the event if 2, 3, 4 employees don't show up, you know what to do. Because if you don't, then you're going to lose the client, then you're going to lose a lot of money. So.
Well, I appreciate you coming on.
No,
a lot of amazing business advice, a lot of amazing life advice, inspiration, and some really cool watches and jewelry.
Yeah,
I don't think I'll ever be a chain guy, but
that does look good on you.
I'll stick to the watches. I think you need something of a black shirt on,
it looks good. So yes, but thank you so much, Shawn. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for sharing even your stories with mine, and it was such a pleasure. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
It is what it is. Put all the chips all on me.